Welcome everyone, welcome to NS Institute. So this is the second part of chemical explosives. In this lecture, we will come to know the classification of explosives. Now the classification of explosives can be done in a number of ways, but in a number of ways means that it can be classified based on the physical state of the explosive. It can be classified based on the chemical composition of the explosive. But the most common one is the sensitivity. So based on the sensitivity, it can be classified under three categories. That is primary explosives, secondary explosives, and then tertiary explosives. So basically primary explosives are named as detonators. So what are the primary explosives? So primary explosives are actually highly sensitive to the action of heat, pressure, friction, or you can say that electric shock to initiate the explosive. And these are generally used as detonators or to trigger the large explosives. Some common examples are acetone peroxide, ethyl azide, this ethyl azide, then nitroglycerin, or you can say that peroxy acids, etc. Now coming to the secondary explosives. So these are basically less sensitive than primary explosives to the action of heat, pressure, friction, radiation, etc. to initiate the explosive. Now, as they are less sensitive, so they can be used widely in different applications. They can be handled easily, they can be stored easily, and they are used in large quantities in these explosive trains and can be triggered or can be initiated by a very small amount of these primary explosives or detonators. And some common examples like TNT, that is trinitrotoluene, 2,4,6 trinitrotoluene, then RDX, that is research development explosives, etc. Now coming to tertiary explosives. So these are least sensitive to the action of heat, pressure, friction, radiation, etc. And they are so insensitive that they cannot be triggered by the practical amount of these primary detonators. So therefore, this booster of secondary explosives are required to initiate these explosives. So because these are least sensitive, so therefore they cannot be triggered by the small amount of these primary detonators. They can only be triggered by the booster of secondary explosive. Okay, and these explosives are actually used in blasting purposes or in the blasting purposes in mining section, or you can use this in that this can be used in the mining purposes or in that construction purposes. And some common examples like ANF, that is ammonium nitro fuel oil. So these are the classification based on the sensitivity. And another one is that these explosives can be classified upon the velocity of shockwave. Now, based on the velocity of shockwave, now the explosives can be classified into these two types, that is low explosive and high explosive. Now, what is actually low explosive? Now, low explosive means that the substances which do not explode suddenly, and the shock wave is actually passing very slowly or travels very slowly. जो shock wave होता है ना वो धीरे धीरे जाता है, ऐसा नहीं मतलब सुपरसोनिक साउंड की तरह निकल जाएगा. So the low explosive means that this blast जो होता है suddenly नहीं होता है, and the shock wave travels slowly or with slower rate. Slowly जो जाएगा उस that will be low explosive. And the characteristics of low explosive is that the reaction starts at the surface of the explosive and then it will travel inside at 20 to 25 centimeter per second. That is the rate. That is a rate of 20 to 25 meter per 20 to 25 centimeter per second. Then these explosives or the burning of these through the burning of these explosives, whatever the gases will be produced, that will be dispersed readily without building the pressure, and therefore the explosive can be controlled easily. क्योंकि अगर इसमें प्रेशर बिल्डअप नहीं होता है देन यू कैन कंट्रोल दैट वेरी इजीली, राइट. बट किसी में अगर प्रेशर बहुत ज्यादा बिल्डअप होगा that cannot be controlled easily. But here whatever the gases will be produced, that can be dispersed without building the pressure, therefore it can be controlled easily. And these kind of explosives are generally used in missiles, in rocket propellants, etc. And basically some common examples like gunpowder. Now coming to the point, high explosive. What is actually high explosive? High explosive means that high velocity of the shock wave. So a material which detonates and the shock wave passes through the material at a supersonic sound is actually called as high explosive. कुछ कुछ मूवी में जैसे दिखाया जाता है कि एक जैसे एक बॉम्बार्डमेंट के बाद अचानक से एक सुपरसोनिक साउंड आता है और सब मतलब और कुछ सुनाई नहीं देता है, दैट इज लाइक हाई एक्सप्लोसिव व्हेन अ सुपरसोनिक साउंड ना, after the bombardment you will hear a supersonic sound and then everything will be like blank, that is like high explosive. So the speed of the supersonic sound is huge. The velocity of that shock wave is ranging at around 3 to 9 kilometer per second. You can just imagine that the velocity of that shock wave is ranging in between 3 to 9 kilometer per second. So it's a huge velocity. Okay, and these kind of high explosives are actually used in mining purposes or military operations. Some common examples like TNT, that is 246 trinitrotoluene, or RDX, that is research development explosives, etc. Now, these high explosive can be further classified into these four categories. That is single compound explosives, binary explosives, plastic explosives, and dynamites. Now, what are the single compound explosives? Single compound explosives means it will only contain a single compound in them. Like that TNT, singly it is an explosive. RDS, singly it is an explosive. So it will contain only a single compound in them. Then coming to the binary explosives. Binary explosives means in this actually there will be two explosive compound. It will contain two explosive compounds in them, and mostly TNT, that is 246 trinitrotoluene, is an important active ingredient for this binary explosives. Now coming to the point, plastic explosives. As the name suggests that it will remain in the plastic state and it can be further hand molded in several various shapes without any kind of serious risk. Like the shape of these plastic explosives can be like flat sheets, or it can be rod like structure, and then if you want you can cut into several pieces like small pieces without any kind of several risk. Again, here in these kind of plastic explosives, it will mostly contain TNT as an ingredient. And the last one is the dynamites. We have already learned this dynamite, that is nitroglycerin is the active ingredient in these dynamites. But the one thing I should mention here, that this nitroglycerin is actually highly reactive in nature. As it is highly reactive, or as it is highly sensitive, so therefore it is mixed with other inert materials like these woods or dust, so that the sensitivity can be means lessened, or the sensitivity can be less in nature, and therefore it can be handled and stored easily, or it can be transported easily. It can be transported easily. So this is the overall classification of explosives. What we have learned, that is the classification of explosives can be done in a number of ways, but here we have shown by two based on two properties, that is sensitivity and then velocity of shock wave. That based on sensitivity it is very common, that is based on sensitivity it can be classified under three categories, that is primary, secondary, tertiary. Primary is highly sensitive, so therefore they are used as detonators. Common examples are this one. Then secondary, that is it is comparatively less sensitive than primary, but it is more sensitive than tertiary. So therefore they can be used in different applications, as the sensitivity is comparatively less, but these can be triggered by small application of primary detonators, primary explosives or detonators. Then coming to the tertiary. Now tertiary is least sensitive. It is very less sensitive. As it is least sensitive, so therefore it cannot be triggered by the application of small amount of primary detonators. So therefore what we require, that we require booster of this secondary explosive to initiate these explosive. Some common examples like A and APO. Now coming to the point, this velocity of shockwave. That velocity of, based on the velocity of shockwave, it can be classified under two, that is low and high explosive. So that is low explosive means that the explosive velocity will be less, and here this explosive velocity will be very high. This explosive velocity is very less, and here explosive velocity is very high. Now this high explosive can be further categorized into classified into four categories. There is single compound explosive, that it will contain only one single compound. Then binary explosive, it will contain two compounds in them. Then plastic explosive, as the name suggests, that it will remain in the plastic state, and then it can be further cut into several types of or it can be converted into several shapes, and then it can cut into several pieces also without any kind of serious risk in them. And TNT is an important ingredient for this plastic explosive. And then coming to the fourth point, that is the dynamites. And we have already learned that in the dynamites is nitroglycerin is the active ingredient, but as it is very much sensitive, therefore it is mixed with some inert ingredients like wood dust for the transportation purpose or for the storage purposes. Okay, so thank you for attending this lecture, and please like this video and share this video as much as possible, and please subscribe our channel. Thank you for watching this video. See you in the next class. Bye bye.